My 6-year-old told me he begged his bully to stop choking him and even apologized while it was happening, and I can't stop blaming myself for ever trusting the school. Posted by Teep Duty. My child, Max, is 6 and in kindergarten. I first began hearing about his bully, we'll call him Steve, in September 2024. Max told me he was being antagonized by Steve. I told my son to tell Steve to leave him alone loud enough to get the teacher's attention. If Steve doesn't stop and the teacher doesn't hear you, walk away/put lots of distance between you and Steve. If he still won't leave you alone, go right up to an adult and tell them. I spoke over the phone to his teacher, and he assured me that he would keep an eye on them. Soon after, Max came home and told me that he was sent to the bathroom with Steve alone, and Steve shoved him into the stall while saying, "Get in there." Because it got physical, I requested a meeting with his teacher to talk about what we could both do to prevent it from happening again. Eventually, I was able to get the school to agree to take precautions like sending them in different directions if they're too close during recess, rearranging their seating chart, and not letting them be alone together. The principal also told me that they couldn't guarantee anything would work and that Max wouldn't be picked on again. I told them I knew it wouldn't be fixed overnight. I reassured them both that I understood and just wanted to work together. Fast forward, I get a call from the principal telling me that Max was punched in the stomach during recess. I'm told that they were going to take appropriate disciplinary action and apologized. I thanked them for letting me know and told them I was on my way to take Max home for the day. I wanted him to tell me what happened while it was fresh on his mind. The principal then starts to ask me if Max would have done anything to provoke Steve to hit him. I'm taken aback and say no. Max went to daycare and Head Start and never got any kind of behavior reports. In fact, all of my son's teachers loved him and often told me he has a sweetheart. He had lots of friends who were always excited to see him as well. The principal then says, well, Max called Steve fat and that's why Steve defended himself. The conversation begins to focus more on Max. While the principal doesn't outright say this, it sounds like he believes Max deserved being punched in the stomach and will face consequences for calling Steve fat. I say, I understand he shouldn't call people names, but that is nowhere near as serious as being assaulted, and I need to know more about how that will be handled. That seemed to make something click for a second because they chose not to punish my son, and I was told they would speak with the other student's family. I never received a follow-up, but the teacher tried new anti-bullying methods in class, and I didn't hear anything about Steve for a few months, so I was okay with that, believing the school was able to correct it. Well, yesterday Max's teacher calls me around 3 o'clock to inform me that there was an incident. I'm going to tell Max's version of what happened because, unfortunately, the teacher did not witness it. Max told me he was playing restaurant with 2 friends, and Steve kept putting his hands in Max's face to make him upset. Max told him to stop, but he didn't. Max says, "Stop or I'm gonna tell the teacher." Steve then throws Max to the ground and orders Max's friend, Zane, to beat him up. Zane refuses, so Steve gets on top of Max and, I'm not kidding, he begins to strangle my son. Max is telling him to stop and even apologizes to Steve as he's being choked, and that's when Steve stops strangling him. Max and Zane run to tell their teacher what happened. Even though Steve strangled Max in front of 2 other children and they're all scared and telling on Steve, nothing is done. Steve isn't even kept away from Max and goes on to hit Max with his jacket while swinging it around that same day. I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know what to do because I gave the school chance after chance to correct this issue. My son does not get spanked. We don't condone fighting, and he's never been exposed to physical violence. It broke my heart knowing he experienced that, and I blame myself for not doing enough to prevent this. So I am done being patient. I tell the school that I want to talk to the principal immediately. He wasn't on campus but wanted to do a phone conference with me still. I'm not sure why he wanted to do that because he wasn't even on school grounds, and I wasn't sure if he even knew what happened, and he didn't. So I tell him the story. My husband is there with me, and this is his first time hearing the whole story as well. Naturally, he gets angry and sort of questions why they aren't worried about a child strangling other students and if the school is even competent. The principal gets angry, shuts down, and literally says, "I know nothing, what do you want me to do about it in this moment of time?" I told him I wasn't sure why he didn't schedule to meet me tomorrow, but that I would call then and see when I could visit with him. I'm extremely upset at how insensitive the principal has been for every incident, and I'm feeling like he won't do anything to help me. I'm giving him 2 days to tell me their judgment of the situation. I told them I don't want Max moved to a different class. I want a signed incident report. I want to view the camera footage if they don't believe my son is being truthful. And I tell them Max won't be attending until we resolve this and I'm certain that he is safe in their care. The principal tries to refuse, and I tell them those are my expectations and I won't accept anything else. I've never done this, and I know that what happened is serious, but I don't know what to do. I submitted a bullying report to the superintendent yesterday, and I'm being told I should involve the police if the school won't document this or review footage. I need any advice you guys can give. I live in Texas, by the way. Edit to add, just wanted to add that since Texas is a one-party consent state, I have recordings of all meetings, including this most recent one. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Former teacher, in Texas and parent here. Be the squeaky wheel. Do not let this go. Escalated to the superintendent and the school board. Follow up every conversation with an email, copy to the teacher, principal, and superintendent, with a recap of everything you discussed. This creates a paper trail of days, times, and attendees of all meetings/conversations. I don't think they can let you view the video for privacy reasons. I know others are saying to call the police, but in my experience, they won't do anything if the child is under 10. However, I would keep pressing them to provide specific actions, in writing, that they are going to take to keep your child physically safe. You noticed their tone changed when you used the word assault. There's a reason for that. That opens the possibility of legal action. Keep using that word, because that's what it is. I'm not sure why you don't want your child moved to another class, unless it's just because it's so close to the end of the year. However, I would absolutely request that your child not be in the same class as the other student next year. Texas has an anti-bullying law, but it really just gives you the right to transfer classes or schools. Ops response. My reasoning was because my son has best friends in that class, and after asking him how he felt about getting a new teacher, he started to tear up and told me, "But I'll miss my friends. Why can't Steve just leave me alone?" I told him, "Never mind, we won't do that. I don't want him to feel punished. But after thinking about it, I would rather he make new friends than deal with permanent trauma." Commenter 2. Both my kids, who are sweethearts, experienced this. Bullies can smell the sweet ones and prey upon them. Same thing, talk to teachers, principals, etc. After zero resolution, I'd had enough and told my kids to fight back and end it. My daughter was first. She absolutely destroyed the boy who was bullying her, bloody nose and all. He never went near her again. My son was next. A boy kept up the pushing, hitting, etc. He destroyed his bully too. The kid left him alone forever. When contacted by the schools, I told them yes, I absolutely told my kids to stick up for themselves, and that's that. It was over at that point. FAFO. Ops response. This is the route we've decided to take. We're also going to request that they put a safety plan in place and give us daily reports stating whether he was bullied that day or not, and what they did about it. If they refuse to do that, I'm going to tell them that they'd leave me no choice but to file a police report and seek a restraining order, and that I would be telling Steve's parents that I wanted a safety plan but was told no, so I did what I had to do. In the meantime, my son has our permission to fight back with all his strength. We are Samoan, and my son is very strong, so good luck to his bully. And if he faces any punishment, we told him that we'll take him to eat ice cream and buy a toy. If that doesn't show his bully that Max is not an easy target anymore, I don't know what will. I'll let my son defend himself as many times as it takes for Steve to get the hint. Update 3 days later. Max and I met with the principal today. He asked for Max's story, and Max told it exactly how he told me on Monday. The principal asked additional questions like, "Can you remember how he put his hands on you?" Max told him, "He squeezed my neck like this, and put one hand around his throat." The principal then asked, "Did you see a nurse after you told your teacher?" Max said no. Then the principal said, "Okay, Max, that's all of my questions, thank you." He then turned to me and apologized for how our first meeting went. He told me that he has children and understands why I was upset. He said he doesn't usually conduct himself the way he did, he won't ever disrespect us like that again, and he hopes he can regain my trust. I was surprised but happy and thanked him for saying that. He then told me, "You were the first person that told me what happened that day. We have protocols for things like this, and nothing was followed. We failed you. Max should have been immediately sent to the nurse, and even if I am not on school grounds, I'm supposed to be notified so that I can investigate and speak with you in person." He also said that Max's story matches the other 2 boys who witnessed the assault and that, while he couldn't provide me with a copy of the footage, he offered to let me record it on my phone after blurring the faces. He said the incident took place on the playground in a small enclosed area beneath the slide that has a window. That made sense to me because Max had said they were playing restaurant. The principal said he has video of Steve touching Max's face to pick on him, a commotion under the slide, and the 3 boys running to tell the teacher, so he believes it happened exactly as Max described. He also said he couldn't tell me what the other child's discipline was, but he did say the family was very upset with the choices he made. Still, the principal told me he stands by his decisions and will protect his students like his own. Then he said what we've all been saying here, that kind of behavior is learned, and I've notified who I needed to in order for that to be investigated. We ended the meeting with the principal thanking me for meeting with him. He asked if I had any more questions, guaranteed that the boys will have no further interaction for the rest of the year, and assured me they won't be in the same class next year. He asked if he could visit with Max daily to ask how his day is going and whether I would give him a chance to prove that Max is safe at school. I told him yes, let's see how it goes. I'm satisfied with the meeting overall and do feel more at ease. The principal seemed genuine and remorseful for not taking it seriously at first. I asked Max during the car ride home, "How do you feel when I say you're going back to school Monday?" He excitedly said, "Happy. I don't think I need to do anything more than be a helicopter mom until I see actions lining up with words. I'm actually so happy that I heard what I wanted to hear and just super relieved I don't have to go against the school district because I was prepared to do it, even though I was so anxious." Do you guys think this meeting was sufficient? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I wonder if that other child's parents are going to end up killing one another. Or at least, you might hear about one parent threatening the other, or one parent leaving suddenly. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the parents wound up dead. Ops response. So, I did some Facebook digging and found out that the mom is an addict and lives in a different city. The dad has custody but hardly does any parenting and lives with his mom and his 3 kids. The grandma seems to be the most active person in the child's life. The 2 older brothers are maybe middle school and high school aged. I'd bet money he learned to strangle from them. Not sure what's going to go down in their house, but if they did something as insane as murder, I'd find out because the grandma is well known in this small town. Commenter 2. Knew a family similar, 3 brothers and almost zero parenting. They lived behind us, and the kids would be outside until past 11 p.m. alone, even when one was as young as 3. The youngest has been a massive bully and, at points, targeted my son because he grew up behind us. I 100% witnessed the older brothers basically torturing him all the time. Not surprising, a bunch of unsupervised kids tend to do that. So the youngest learned from them and often took advantage of no longer being the smallest guy, doing the same to younger kids at school. So that makes sense. However, having been the victim, there is some sense of remorse in there. This kid could often feel bad afterward when he realized how it affected kids like our son. It stopped being an issue for us mostly because he ended up being held back in school, twice now. Unfortunate for the kid, honestly. You want to be angry that they're hurting your kid, but they also never had a chance to know any better. Ops response. When I saw the pictures of his brothers, I felt guilt, I think. I'm not sure, but it didn't feel good to see his brothers are huge, stocky and tall just like he is. I believe the principal reported them to CPS, so I hope when they interview Steve, he'll be honest about what happens to him. Poor baby, I hope they help him. I know it's not often that CPS helps the way they should. Crossing my fingers that he's one of the cases that has a happy ending.